Imagine walking into the office on, just a random Tuesday morning. You grab your coffee.
Hey, it's a totally normal day.
Right, normal day. You sit at your desk and you find out your CEO is suddenly facing a massive multi-million-dollar compliance crisis.
Wow.
The company's stock is taking a hit, legal is completely panicking, and the entire root cause traces back to a thumbs up emoji you dropped in a casual Slack channel like 6 months ago.
It sounds like a nightmare, but it is happening.
It really
Yeah.
is. Today, we're doing a deep dive into a massive stack of recent corporate risk audits and tech sector postmortems to uncover this completely unbudgeted, entirely invisible crisis that's basically sweeping through modern business.
It's a phenomenal hidden risk. I mean, as tech professionals, we're all very comfortable with the concept of traditional technical debt.
Sure, yeah. You need to ship a product fast, so you consciously cut a few architectural corners.
Exactly. You do it to meet a deadline, and you factor in the cost of fixing it later. It's a known trade-off.
You just put it on the backlog.
Right. But the postmortems we're looking at today reveal a totally different, a completely unbudgeted threat that operates on a much larger scale.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because what we're actually looking at is a phenomenon called AI governance debt.
Yes.
And these audits, they frame it as this silent trap that organizations are just walking into entirely blindly, mostly because they think they're just being agile.
It is a trap, precisely because governance debt accumulates using the exact same mechanism as technical debt, which is that relentless pursuit of speed.
But there's a catch.
A huge catch.
Yep.
The crucial difference is that nobody has built a shared vocabulary or a risk matrix for it yet. I mean, when you take on technical debt, engineering knows about it.
Right, it sits right there on a sprint board.
Exactly. But with AI governance debt, you are essentially borrowing against the future at astronomical interest rates, and no one is actually keeping the ledger.
The business doesn't even realize a transaction took place.
Exactly. They have no idea.
Which means we really need to figure out exactly how this phantom debt sneaks into a company's ecosystem in the first place.
Yeah, how does it start?
Well, looking at the patterns across all these postmortems, the origin story is almost universally the same. It starts with a pilot program.
Usually something small.
Right. A team wants to implement an AI tool to, say, summarize documents or draft emails, and everyone is feeling the pressure to leverage AI, so they move incredibly fast.
Too fast, really.
Yeah. Zero formal documentation is created, no specific executive owner is assigned, and the most dangerous detail, by far the use case, gets approved in a casual Slack thread rather than going through any kind of formal, structured review process.
It's just a quick message like, hey, I'm going to hook up this API to our internal database to test a new chatbot.
And a manager replies with a thumbs up emoji.
Yep. And they're off to the races.
Now, I gotta push back playfully on this right out of the gate. I mean, is a Slack approval really that dangerous?
That sounds harmless enough.
Right. Because moving fast, eliminating red tape, empowering your teams to experiment, that is just how business gets done today.
It's the modern workflow.
Yeah, if you force every single small AI experiment, every little API connection through some massive bureaucratic IT review board, your competitors are just going to crush you. Isn't that quick Slack thumbs up, just, agility in action?
What's fascinating here is the illusion of agility versus the reality of accountability.
Okay, tell me more.
You're absolutely right that businesses need to move fast. But skipping a real review in favor of a casual Slack thread, it creates a foundational crack in the structural integrity of your operations.
A structural crack? How so?
Well, when you use a Slack thread, you lack a structured schema. You aren't capturing any metadata.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, a formal review process, even a very lightweight one, forces a pause, a moment where you ask three fundamental questions. First, what specific data is this model actually touching? Second, what is the blast radius if it hallucinates or completely fails? And third, who is the named human being responsible if something goes wrong?
And a conversational thread just vanishes into the archive. You get the go-ahead, but you don't generate any permanent architectural record at all.
Yeah, exactly the problem. I mean, when an engineer connects an API to a large language model, they are opening a two-way data pipe right into the company's ecosystem.
That sounds risky when you put it like that.
It is. If that's only approved via emoji, there's no footprint in the enterprise architecture. So you establish this dangerous illusion. The code compiles. The tool generates quick, impressive results.
The team's productivity goes way up. Everyone is happy.
Everyone's thrilled. And because the technical side is functioning perfectly, it completely masks the governance failure that is happening silently in the background.
It's basically like bringing a highly capable new employee into the building, giving them completely unrestricted access to your filing cabinets, but never writing down their name, their job description, or logging their badge into the security system.
That is a perfect way to visualize it. I mean, that foundational crack does not cause the building to collapse on day one.
No, the new employee is doing great work.
Exactly. But you have severely compromised your operational security over the long term simply because you deployed a powerful, autonomous capability without ever registering its existence.
But, time inevitably passes, and playing this out, we really need to look at what happens when that single undocumented API connection is just left running in the background while the company scales up.
It doesn't stay small for long.
No, it doesn't. And here's where it gets really interesting. Because the way these audits describe the compounding chaos is genuinely wild. Fast forward 6 months, that one innocent little pilot program, it's mutated.
Yeah, the snowball effect just completely takes over.
You look at a company half a year later, and the audits reveal that 3 different teams are now running slightly different, customized versions of that exact same AI tool.
It spreads like wildfire.
Marketing tweaked it for their needs, sales adapted it for outreach, customer success hooked it straight into the CRM. Even worse, nobody remembers which specific version of the model is actively touching live customer data.
It's a complete mess.
And the absolute kicker here, that manager who dropped the thumbs up emoji in the Slack threads 6 months ago, they changed departments 3 months ago, or they left the company entirely.
Right. The initial sponsor has completely evaporated.
It makes me think of deciding to adopt a tiny, adorable little puppy.
Okay, I like where this is going.
You bring it into your house, you don't put a collar on it, you don't microchip it, you don't even register it with the vet, you just let it run around.
Seems fine at first.
Yeah, but then you leave for 6 months. When you finally come back and walk through the front door, you find 3 different adult dogs running wild in your house.
Oh no.
You have no idea what they've been eating, you have no idea who has been letting them out, and the roommate who originally said, sure, let's get a puppy, moved out 3 months ago.
That is a remarkably accurate and frankly terrifying analogy for enterprise AI right now. Because when we look at those 3 adult dogs running around the house, what we're really talking about mechanically is the profound risk of lost data lineage.
Break that down for us a bit. Why is data lineage so uniquely difficult to track with AI compared to just, standard software?
Well, with traditional software, data lineage is relatively linear. You have a database, it feeds into a logic engine with hard-coded rules, and it spits out a completely predictable output.
Right, it's basically an assembly line.
Exactly.
Yeah.
If something goes wrong, an engineer can just trace the exact path backward. But AI models, specifically these generative models, they do not operate on hard-coded rules.
They're a lot messier.
Much messier. They ingest massive pools of unstructured data, they process it through billions of dynamic parameters, and they generate probabilistic outputs.
They're basically guessing the best answer.
Right. So if you have 3 different teams running slightly different versions of a model, and they're all feeding it different unstructured data sets, say, one is feeding it current pricing, one is feeding it legacy customer emails, and one is hooking it directly into a live database. Your data lineage becomes a tangled, untraceable web.
Which means if the model suddenly outputs something incorrect or heavily biased or just leaks sensitive information, you literally cannot reverse engineer how it arrived at that decision.
Precisely. And in today's regulatory landscape, losing track of how customer data is processed is one of the most dangerous things a company can possibly do.
It's a huge liability.
Massive. But the psychological trap here is that none of this feels urgent while it is actually happening. The accumulation of governance debt is entirely silent.
Because things are still working.
Exactly. The teams are using these tools to write emails, analyze spreadsheets, summarize long meetings. On the surface, everything just looks like a massive productivity win. But the chaos is multiplying quietly in the background. It is not like a traditional server crashing where sirens go off and pagers light up. The dogs are just, quietly chewing the furniture in the other room.
So the debt gets bigger, the risk compounds exponentially, but the company is completely oblivious because their day-to-day operations haven't actually hit a roadblock.
Yep.
The context of how these systems were built is just quietly rotting away.
Because there was no documentation on day one, there is absolutely no map to help you navigate the architectural mess on day 180.
Which brings us to the inevitable moment of impact. We've established the undocumented pilots, the multiplying tools, the broken data lineage, and the phantom sponsors.
It's all there, waiting.
Eventually, just like with technical debt, the bill comes due. But what these tech sector postmortems make incredibly clear is that the repayment process for AI governance debt looks absolutely nothing like traditional technical debt.
The contrast between the two is stark. And really, understanding that difference is vital to understanding the true scale of this crisis.
So, with technical debt, the problem is contained, right? It shows up as a slow application.
Yeah, the bottleneck.
The system gets sluggish, users might complain about a lag in load times, and eventually the engineering team claims ownership. They throw it on their sprint board, they refactor the database queries, push an update, and boom, it's fixed.
It stays entirely within the technical domain.
But governance debt, it explodes outwardly. It doesn't show up as a slow app.
No, not at all.
It shows up as a formal auditor literally knocking on the door. Or it shows up as a major enterprise customer sending a legal demand, asking exactly who approved a system to make an automated decision about their account.
And when that happens, you really can't just assign it to a junior developer.
It bypasses the engineering department completely. So, what does this all mean for senior leadership? Are we looking at a scenario where executives are essentially flying blind, sitting up in corner offices, entirely dependent on a customer complaint or a surprise audit just to reveal the existence of their own internal AI architecture?
If we connect this to the bigger picture, that is the exact reality keeping chief risk officers awake at night right now.
I can imagine.
We have to break down the mechanics of this explosion. When an app is slow because of clunky code, it's an operational inefficiency, an engineering headache.
Minor in the grand scheme.
Right, but an external auditor demanding to know your data lineage, or a customer invoking their rights under GDPR or the CCPA to demand how an algorithm processed their private health data.
Oh, man, yeah.
That is not an engineering headache. That is a massive compliance and reputational crisis.
It transforms instantly from a tech issue to a full-blown legal liability.
Yes, it becomes a board-level emergency.
Yeah.
And the reason it lands on someone much more senior and lands with such terrifying speed is because the questions being asked are fundamentally about corporate responsibility, not software development.
Right, they want to know who is in charge.
Exactly. When that auditor asks for the risk matrix of the AI tool, you cannot send a lead engineer into the room to say, well, we approved it in a Slack thread 6 months ago, and the guy who built it transferred to marketing.
That would be a complete bloodbath.
It would be totally indefensible. Senior leadership is ultimately legally accountable for the risk the company takes on.
As they should be.
Yes, but because this governance debt accumulated silently, without any architectural footprint, the C-suite has been completely cut out of the visibility loop. They're left holding the bag for automated decisions they never even knew were being made.
That is just a staggering disconnect. You have CEOs and VPs who carry the fiduciary and legal duty to protect the company, and somewhere, like 3 layers down, a rogue, undocumented AI model is chewing through sensitive customer data based on a thumbs-up emoji from a vanished middle manager.
It highlights a major cultural vulnerability. The whole move fast and break things mantra worked wonders for early web development.
Sure, yeah.
But it is uniquely dangerous when applied to AI. I mean, when you break a feature in a web app, the user just refreshes the page.
No big deal.
Right. When you break algorithmic fairness or you lose track of regulated data lineage, you break trust on a massive scale and you invite catastrophic regulatory scrutiny.
Which brings us to probably the most frustrating part of this entire deep dive.
Yeah.
The actual solution. Now that we understand the mechanics of how this happens and the severe senior level consequences when it blows up, we need to look at how companies fix it.
It's the natural next step.
Given that this is a literally company-destroying level of risk, you would naturally assume the solution requires, I don't know, a dedicated team of PhDs and a bespoke $20 million software platform.
You'd think so, wouldn't you?
But looking at the remediation steps in these audits, the missing pieces are shockingly basic.
They are entirely foundational elements of business administration.
The postmortems explicitly list 3 specific things that are almost always missing when an auditor uncovers a mess like this.
What are they?
First, a centralized registry of which use cases were formally approved. Second, a consistent, standardized way of classifying risk across different tools doing similar work, like, establishing that a tool drafting internal emails is low risk, but a tool analyzing customer financial data is high risk.
Makes sense.
And third, a clear, documented line connecting a specific model deployment back to a named human being who is actually accountable for it.
Just someone to own it.
Right. Now, I have to push back hard here. We just spent the last 10 years going through massive agile transformations to escape this exact kind of bureaucracy.
True, people hate red tape.
You're talking about registries, risk classifications, and accountability charts. Isn't this just reinventing the nightmare IT ticketing systems that killed innovation in the 2010s? How do you implement this without entirely paralyzing your engineering teams?
This raises an important question about how we design corporate governance in the AI era.
Okay, let's hear it.
It is very easy to look at those three requirements and assume they mean returning to the dark ages of bureaucracy, where every little idea takes 6 months to get approved by a committee.
Which nobody wants.
Right. But that is a false dichotomy. We are not talking about building a huge wall to stop innovation. We are talking about laying down tracks so the train doesn't derail at high speed.
So what does that actually look like in practice? How is it lightweight?
Lightweight governance means capturing metadata automatically, or integrating risk tiering directly into the deployment pipeline itself.
Oh, so building it into the tools they already use.
Exactly. Instead of a massive review board, it could be a simple automated intake form that takes maybe 5 minutes to fill out before an API key is even granted.
Just a quick checkpoint.
Yeah, it registers the tool's name, its purpose, the data it touches, and the employee ID of the sponsor. That data flows directly into a centralized dashboard. It is virtually frictionless for the developer, but it gives the risk team complete visibility.
So it isn't about gatekeeping the technology at all. It is about establishing a basic, fundamental paper trail of reality.
Precisely. And the reason we skip even these frictionless steps goes back to human behavioral incentives.
Ah, human nature.
Always. The reward systems in modern business heavily favor visible output over invisible infrastructure. Nobody gets a promotion or a fat bonus for creating a really elegant risk classification database.
No, they get a promotion for launching the shiny new AI pilot that cuts operational costs by 10%.
Exactly. The incentive structure is entirely misaligned.
The immediate gratification of the launch completely eclipses the abstract threat of a future audit.
So teams skip the basic registration steps, genuinely believing they will, circle back and document it all later.
But later never comes.
In a fast-paced environment, later never actually arrives. And the audits highlight the devastating cost of trying to reconstruct this reality retroactively.
It must be a nightmare.
Let's say the crisis hits. You now have to build that missing paper trail backward. That means pulling your best engineers off active projects to spend weeks digging through thousands of deleted Slack messages.
No, that sounds awful.
It means trying to interview employees who have switched departments, attempting to reverse engineer the architectural thought process of a pilot program that the original creators barely understood in the first place.
You're essentially forcing your own team to play forensic investigator for a crime you committed against yourselves.
And doing that retroactively is exponentially more expensive, painful, and disruptive than just building that simple 5-minute intake form on day one.
It just drains everyone.
It drains immense technical resources, it halts all your other productive work, and honestly, it usually results in a very flimsy, unconvincing defense when you finally hand it over to the auditor.
Because you can't fake a pristine data lineage after the fact.
Exactly. The human element here is the dangerous belief that speed is free. AI governance debt is the hard mathematical proof that speed is incredibly expensive if you do not document the journey along the way.
It is the ultimate penny-wise, pound-foolish scenario playing out on a massive algorithmic scale. You save an hour of administrative friction on a Tuesday by using a Slack thread, and you lose 3 months of your executive team's time a year later trying to explain a mysterious data leak to federal regulators.
That is the exact reality these postmortems are trying to warn us about.
Pulling all of this together, this deep dive has been a truly fascinating journey into the hidden mechanics of the AI boom. We started with the comfortable, well-understood world of traditional technical debt, where engineers make calculated architectural trade-offs that they actually own and manage.
The known quantities.
Right, and we have arrived at this terrifying new landscape of AI governance debt, where a casual thumbs-up emoji can silently snowball into a tangled web of unowned, unmonitored models processing sensitive customer data in a total black box.
The huge shift.
We've seen how this debt doesn't politely alert the IT department with a slow loading screen, but rather explodes directly onto the desks of the C-suite through compliance audits and customer crises. And perhaps most importantly, we have seen that the solution isn't to kill agility with heavy bureaucracy.
No, not at all.
It's simply to enforce the basic rules of business operations. Keep a centralized registry, tier the risk, and draw a clear line of human accountability.
It is a strong reminder that while the technology feels completely unprecedented and seems to defy all the old rules, the fundamental principles of risk management absolutely still apply.
Speed without accountability isn't innovation, it's just a future crisis waiting to happen. Which brings us to a critical question drawn directly from the audits we analyzed today. I want you, the listener, to really think about this in the context of your own workplace.
That's a great question.
If someone asked your organization right now how many AI pilots are running without a documented owner, would there be a real number or just a guess?
That question cuts right to the bone of the vulnerability. And I want to leave you with one final lingering thought to mull over, building on the mechanics of everything we have discussed today.
Go for it.
We know this governance debt is accumulating silently inside companies right now. We know the current answer to that question for most organizations is almost certainly just a guess.
Yeah, unfortunately.
But if this undocumented debt continues to accumulate unseen on such a massive scale across the entire business landscape, will the sheer volume of that internal guesswork eventually force regulatory agencies to step in aggressively?
Oh, wow.
Are we rapidly moving toward a moment where this ceases to be just an internal organizational mess and suddenly transforms into a massive external legal liability strictly enforced by the government?
That is a heavy and very real possibility to consider, because at the end of the day, you cannot just guess your way out of a subpoena. Well, thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. We respect your time, and we hope this conversation gives you a totally new lens through which to look at the AI tools you and your teams are deploying every single day.
It's been great being here.
The next time someone says they want to move fast and skip the documentation, remember, you might not be writing bad code, but you are definitely writing a check that someone is going to have to cash. Take care, and we will catch you next time.